I'll say hi. I'm Anna. I live in Grove Park, close to that tree that was there, and I work as a Population Health Fellow, Education Fellow at Barts Health, so north of the river, and I'm a respiratory doctor by background. So I'm quite interested in kind of where health and green space meets. And I just wanted to say how beautiful it was sitting, just looking at those beautiful images. And then out here, we're kind of among the trees, aren't we? It's such a beautiful setting. So apologies in advance. Some of the things that I had done to make these slides a bit easier to look at didn't come through on Google. So, okay. So this is me in the pub on a night in June 2021, and have I got a little laser thing? Oh yeah. Oh, amazing. That's my friend Jackie, and Jackie lives on Exford Road, which is off Senlac Road, which is where the tree was. And she, a couple of drinks in, as you can see, said, "Have you heard they're chopping that tree down on Senlac Road, and it's the last one?" I just a couple of drinks in. I was like, "What?" And so we drank our drinks and then left the pub and went to see it. And this was my first view. Now, what is a bit silly about this is that I hadn't, to my shame, really realised that this tree was there. So I live on Burntash Hill, which is the kind of like, it's like a ridge along the top of a hill. And Senlac Road is down a hill. And if you haven't got a massive kind of like sense of, externality, because you're rushing too many children to school, you don't notice this kind of thing. And I don't normally go down there, and I'm afraid I just hadn't realised it was there. But Jackie said it's the last one, and I had heard a couple of kind of years before that, or over the previous years, that there had been more trees of this size on Senlac Road, and they'd all one by one come down. And I thought this is just bonkers. So we arrived, we had a look, and there were these notices pinned on it. Thanks. You insure houses, and a claim was made. You then blamed a tree, this tree. It's now condemned to die. Money might matter to you, but to us, the local people who love seeing this tree and benefiting from it, this tree is priceless. Don't know what happened at the bottom, as I say, maybe a bit drunk for it. And then they were coming the next day to chop it down. So I texted all my friends and said, "Has anyone got any like chains, locks, and like handcuffs?" I said, "No, in fact, I said, has anyone got any handcuffs?" And someone said, "Yes, I've got some." So anyway, it turned out not to be necessary, because I phoned up before we left the pub. I actually phoned up our counsellor, Susanna Clark, who was there, and said, "Hey, Susanna, did you know they're taking this tree down?" And I know she's really committed to looking after green space in our area. And she said, "Whoa, okay, no, not okay. We're going to fight this." So I felt quite kind of armed previous to arriving at the tree the next morning, because I knew Susanna was on our side and she's a counsellor. So we got some pictures made. My girls did this, and actually, again, shockingly, and I want to kind of come back to this, but this is Alice, who was 7 at the time. She drew this from a photo on my phone before we went to school, and we kind of went early to school to put all the photos up. Because she didn't really, again, she hadn't seen it, and that's a problem, isn't it, nature connectedness, which I want to come back to. But she wrote, "Look at her." She gendered the tree, which none of us had done. She said, "Look at her. She's standing tall." Yeah, she is standing tall, that's it. And some other people had been to say no, and this is another one of my daughters. And I thought, we've got something to say here. This is great. So we came back. I think they were there. They were early in the morning, and we stood under the tree, and they came, and we said, "No, I don't want you to cut this tree down. This is our tree. Please don't do that. I'll get the counsellor on the phone." And we got the counsellor on the phone, and she said, "No, could you just slow down a minute? We didn't know about any of this. Go away, and I want to have a word with my council colleagues about this." And so that was unbelievably empowering to feel like that tree was still there. And lots of people from the community came out and said, "Are they going to take the tree down?" I said, "No, they've gone away." And they said, "Oh wow, that's amazing," because we just thought, there's a goner. And they said, "And we've lost all the trees on our road. This is the last one." And then over the next kind of couple of months, we put some things up about this is a poster that I made of what benefits trees kind of bring us, and I put a QR code on, which was unreasonable, so I'm not sure how much people engage with it. But actually, as I found out later, people have engaged with it slowly, quietly. They really are interested in this. Right, so, and I just wanted to show this one, because look at the density of that canopy. It's so dense. It's so cool under that tree. It's really beautiful, and I'll do this, right. And then I just started falling in love with this tree. So I'd spent some time with it. So I just thought, this is actually from the end of the summer, autumn. But isn't it spectacular? It's just gorgeous. Like, just the most beautiful thing. And you can see there's not much else. I mean, it looks green from this angle, but that's Elton. That was not Lewisham. And then I see it at night as well, because I pick up my daughter and I look at it at all kind of times of the day and night. And just looking up into its canopy, even when the trees are their leaves are about to come off, it's just extraordinary. And it's really given me kind of a sense of nature connectedness, a bit of pollarding going on.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the pollarding was because they were trying to deal with it with the subsidence issue, which I'm going to come to. And then I just took these on my way back from nursery today. The bark's incredible on London Plains. It's really, really beautiful, and I've spent a lot of time kind of just stroking it. This is a charm that someone from the Sheffield Tree Action Group sent us in the post. They put these on the trees in Sheffield to protect them. And we kind of made a big fuss on Twitter, and they said, "Oh, I think you need one of these." So it's been on there, on and off, not the whole time. Yeah, so we decided we needed to save this tree. Now, the issue is that this house has got problems with subsidence. The house that you can't see, because it's right next to the tree, and its adjacent house, do not have any problems with subsidence whatsoever. There is not a crack. And the reason for that is that the house that's really close to the tree on its doorstep has been underpinned. So it's had really, really deep foundations. It goes down 5 metres. But Andrew, who lives there, really, really supportive of the tree. We've talked about it lots. Don't say his name to anyone, because it's problems with neighbours. It says there is literally not a crack. Even when they've got their extension done, not a problem. This house, not underpinned, has cracks. So we started thinking, well, there's clearly a solution here that's not to do with the tree. Why don't we underpin these houses? We can't do that, it's too expensive. How do you measure what's expensive? You know, we've been talking about what this tree does for us. How are you differentiating between the value of this tree and what it brings to us and the rest of the community, and the value of that person's wall and that one family? So it's a very interesting, it'd be great to have a discussion about that. And we do some questions. Right, so we talked about this. We did a lot on kind of like, this is subsidence, why don't we just underpin it? The insurance companies are being unethical about not just looking after the houses that they've been paid to look after, right? There's an issue there. We got, this is just recently, but we've got lots of signatures, did very well. I made a big fuss. That's my daughter, it's true. We do need to add to this. And at the same time as this tree, in fact at the same time there was going to be these two beautiful oaks, possibly, yeah, these two, were going to be felled in Bellingham for the same reason. So we thought this is a real problem. And we were also contacted by Paul Powsland, who's a barrister for Lawyers for Nature, who said this is a problem everywhere, and it is Haringey, Highgate, Basingstoke, Bristol. These big cases are happening everywhere, and those are the ones we hear about, right? The rest of them, tree comes down, nobody asks any questions. So we got crowdfunding for money that we might need to look at this, which was, can we get our own survey? Can our surveyor look at your survey? Can a lawyer help us? And the council, I'm afraid to say, said, no, we're not interested in talking to you anymore about this. We've had our survey. We are not going to share any information with you. We can't because of privacy. So we went to the press. This is some of my daughters. And this one was in the summer last year, and then this is more recently when we actually occupied the tree. I put that up to remind myself to talk about the council. We really tried hard. And they, to give them their due, spoke to us. We had lots of meetings. I've spent a lot of time with Vince Buchanan, and the various different. One of the problems in Lewisham is we've got very difficult. We've got no consistency between the cabinet members for the environment and climate. So we've had 3 over the last I think within a year. just over a year. So we've had conversations with all of those people, and we've always been assured that they're doing their very, very best and that they wouldn't cut down trees if they didn't have to. And then it gets complicated with, you say, well, okay, in that case the insurers are forcing you to do it, aren't they? These bad insurers, and they go, no, they're not enforcing us to do anything. This is our insurers that have to. So it's very difficult to get a kind of straight answer out of them about it. And we've had, unfortunately to say, quite a few broken promises. So the most recent meeting we had was in March, April, just before the pre-election period, and they said, we really want to work with you. We are going to make a tree working group, and you were there, weren't you, Dunby? You were there, but yeah. We're going to make a tree working group, we're going to give you a tree policy, we're going to talk about this. Nothing happened. And then in November, Zaria from Climate Action Nation had an email saying, so the tree's coming down. Nothing between those two times. So there are some issues with openness, I think, about this. Right, so this is December. They emailed to say, the tree's coming down, and we said, can we please meet? And they said, yes, we'll meet, but you need to understand that it's to tell you that the tree's coming down. There's no more conversation about this. So we had another meeting, and we went over the same things. And during this meeting, we were told that because of climate change, making our summers longer and hotter, we're going to see much more subsidence claims like this. And I thought, this is going really well, this sentence. And we're going to have some kind of amazing kind of epiphany at the end of it. And the end of the sentence was, so it's really, really urgent that we cut this tree down now, because otherwise we're going to have more claims and we're really at risk. I actually cried at that point. I lost it. I just started crying. And then there was a lot of, I'm so sorry, it's very upsetting, isn't it? So it's really quite challenging, I think. Anyway, then the one morning, I was teaching some medical students about nature connectedness and what we were watching the film, and my phone went crazy, and it was all the residents down Senlac Road saying, they're coming, they're here now, they're coming, there's people with chainsaws, you need to get here now. And we'd parked the car since September, basically. My car had been parked there for just this kind of eventuality. So I went and got in the car, and they said, oh, thanks for moving the car. I said, sorry, I'm not moving the car. And they were like, what? And I said, no, I'm going to stay here because I don't want you to cut the tree down. And they tried talking to us, but they kind of knew that this was our action. So Zaria then showed up, brilliant Zaria. Who knows Zaria? Met Zaria? Climate Action? Yeah. Isn't she great? And so Zaria and I then essentially ran a kind of rota of people who would sit in the tree, not in the tree, in the car underneath the tree from the beginning, and we kept it going till Christmas, basically. There was somebody there every single day. And they came again to cut the tree down, and we said, look, this is, yeah. Anyway. Then at one point there was a car moving machine, and we didn't know from Paul, the barrister, whether they would try and move the car with us in it or not. We were kind of assuming they wouldn't, but anyway, here we are, that first day. There are some people wielding chainsaws. Occasionally they just like rev their chainsaws, just like, I don't know, it was quite threatening. This is the house, you can see just how close it is. So this is the house that has absolutely no issues whatsoever. There's my car, surrounded by tape, and I think that's Zaria inside. There's Zaria again. That's my daughter Nancy, who's been dragged along for this awful ride. It's just, I think, and one of the people who lived really close came and just looked through the window, and I wound down the window, and she just cried. She cried. It's that much. It's that emotive. This tree. That's my friend. Oh yeah, this I loved. The tree. So it was very cold. It was really cold. So Jackie gave us a warmed jacket, and people would bring us hot water bottles and hot chocolate and offering their toilets. That's important if you're going to occupy a tree. So it was quite jolly actually, and we had lots of people that I didn't kind of expect who were going to kind of join in with this. So we would occasionally sit there and just kind of like say as people walk by. So I know some of these people from school. Like, do you want to make a? I had an idea to put messages on the tree about kind of how much we like the tree. And someone drew a tree on the car, beautiful. So there's lots of really nice things. So kind of like, back to this value idea, like yeah, it's going to be really expensive to underpin this house, and yes, we're laying ourselves open to the potential for a claim, and yeah, that's going to be very risky financially. And what the council say is, well, that's instead of a library, or that's instead of children's school meals, or that's instead of playing fields, which I find quite problematic. So they won't. The council won't use caveat. The caveat is what is caveat? Community asset value.
Amenity tree.
We need 2 trees. So attempts to put a financial number on what this tree is worth. Obviously that's crazy because we can't buy everything. So at its heart, the problem is we're comparing money with life. But this is what they said. I asked these people to put this into some things. So 1.1 metric tons of carbon sequestered, I don't know, I'm a respiratory doctor, I have no idea what that means. I think it's quite a lot, probably, given that we're talking about microns of the bad pollutions and gases of other pollutions. So I think for a plane tree, we know that plane trees are the biggest contributors to lowering pollution. But what else it does for us is that it makes it nice. It makes it a nice place to live. And people say on the road, it would be so barren. If we lost this tree, it would be so barren. We bought our house because of this tree. That's why we moved here. And now that person who's got a crack in their wall saying that it's got to come, or that is being told that it's got to come down, we all lose. If it goes, all I'll be able to see is walls. There's no greenery. And ironically, after that first morning, which I couldn't make the meeting that was then called in June with the councillor and the tree officers, they all had to stand under the tree because it was really hot. So it's really bare, it's very hot. This is a lot of tarmac which keeps heat in. And when you go past the tree, you feel it. You know what it's doing for us. It's cooling our air, it's cleaning our air, it's reducing flood risk, it's doing all these amazing things. And that's, like, look at that. Wouldn't it be horrific without it? I got my friend to do this. It would be terrible without it. That's a really stark image. So I think Funky's probably going to tell you all this, but we know, they're massively important. I tried to get my neighbours, we tried to get a free street trees for living outside my neighbour's house, and they said no. I said, why? And they were like, I'm not telling you. I was like, well, then put your house price up, and they were like, no, anyway. And then someone else was talking about, my boss was saying that she moved into her house because of the cedar tree that was there, and they were talking about an orchard and like arboretum, and how important those trees are for our community, because they're going to outlive us, and they have already outlived us. Right, more trees on your street means fewer health problems. Woodland walks save the UK £185 million a year in mental health costs. This is more recent, so this came out just as we had started our occupation. Hundreds of pounds of benefits a year, and in total, it's billions. And then just last week, planting more trees in cities could cut deaths from summer heat. Last year, 2022, the deaths were something like 2,800 from excess deaths from heat, being 2,500 in 2020. Oh, sorry, let's go. So just really rapidly, just want to talk about the link between green space and health. This is outside of other social determinants. This is outside how old you are, what gender, anything. If you have green space, you live longer. You prevent mortality from lots of cardiovascular mortality, but basically the fact that they're all on that side means that that's what green space does. And I will share these slides if you want the references, if that'd be useful. But we do, we know this when we're born. We know this from being children. This is Samuel, who's like, what? They're going to cut it down? Do they not know that trees make oxygen? Why would you do that? So this is so innate and we lose it. So it's really interesting. Nature connectedness. This is from Paul De Silva's piece that he wrote for us. But we haven't got enough green space in Lewisham, and we're losing more of it and more of it and more of it all the time because of this issue. Separate from nature access, nature connectedness is really interesting. So there's a very, very close link between nature connectedness and happiness. So the fact that these are all positive means if you are more nature connected, you are more happy. And they've looked at different kinds of nature connectedness and different kinds of happiness. It did come out. Right, sorry, it's a terrible mess. But basically, those who are more connected to nature tended to experience more positive affect, vitality and satisfaction compared to those less connected with nature. I'm really interested in vitality being a very important part of what we get from being nature connected. And that the other way around, so associations were strongest between happiness and inclusion of nature in yourself. So if you think you're part of nature, if you think nature is part of you, you're more likely to be happy. And that's what our children are telling us. As soon as you talk to them about trees, they're like, oh my God. We lopped a few branches off the willow tree in our garden last year. And my daughter, who was 9 at the time, came out and went, oh! And it was just like she had been wounded. she'd been hurt. So we've got that interdependence going on, and we lose it. And it's shown that at 10, you start to lose it. So there's a massive dip between 10 and 15, and you don't get it back for 20 years. And that's because of the way we live, right? But given that it makes us well, it's really problematic that we're losing it. Right, this is my friend Vanessa who drew the sad face on the leaves. We don't have to be enemies. This is just more about the kind of like this nature connectedness. And I just felt like when we were, look at my hand, it's actually sweet. And all these children came and drew pictures to say how much they loved this tree, how important it was. You don't have to work very hard to get them to do this stuff. Hands off our tree. I've showed you that one already. And then this, I've mentioned this already, a sense of sameness between the self, others and nature. And I have rights. Sadly, that's not true. Legally, at the moment, they don't, do they? But my 8-year-old's like, of course they do. This is, I just wanted to kind of show you the charm again, because it's got a really beautiful poem on it, really worth listening to. This is Nancy enjoying the tree, giving it a little hug. This is a tree that was lost on Baring Road, so very nearby. Not sure why. Some people think it's because the buses were hitting it. Maybe stop the buses hitting it rather than chop it down. But they were, again, that, this is really hurting me thing. And on that, this is the previous tree. So this was further down. And Sophie, who I haven't met, who lives there, wrote to the council. And what's really interesting about this is that it's shown that nature connectedness also increases environmental activism. So you've got happiness and you've got nature protection, which is a virtuous cycle, isn't it? So if you're happy and you're protecting nature, then you're protecting more of that nature for yourself because you're happy, right? And then, sorry, that's our girls doing their thing. So here we go. Reconnect with nature triggers eco actions. Right, so this is a slight aside. How long have I got? Have I massively gone over? No time. Okay, I just want to quickly talk about this. We all know this. Climate change is a problem. Healthcare adds to climate change, but it's driven by these commercial and social determinants. And when we have, we've talked about heat killing people and pollution killing people, we know this. So we're in a vicious cycle here. I think insurers are part of that commercial determinants. They are part of the problem because we're looking at money rather than wealth, happiness, health, all the rest of it. This was just a comment that it doesn't have to be like this. There's another case where this has been dealt with in a very different way. But sadly, Lewisham wouldn't talk to us about that. So again, more commercial determinant problems. They say, we're replacing them, it's fine, we're putting more trees in for you. They're not replaceable. They take 25 to 40 years to reach carbon neutrality. And this is just a piece from Bristol where they were talking about, look, you would know if you were given, instead of a pound coin, you were given 1p, you would know that that was not the same value. So this is the same with trees. Right, and also carbon offsets for trees are really problematic. So I just think that nature connection, when we're doing this, when we're taking action, direct action, and connecting ourselves with nature, we can mitigate climate crisis, we can improve our health, and we can sort out social determinants because it makes us less lonely. And that's what I think we should be doing. There's a video which I can show you later, and then let's just leave you with these words from Queen Paul, who wrote a song about based on the Robert Macfarlane poem. The bit that gets me is this: I cannot run. Thank you.